Warfare from above. Man has always fought wars, from the time which people would kill each other with wooden spears, until now. And ever since any form of aircraft has existed, people have had an instant urge to kill each other using planes. Because originally wars were fought with either sharp objects or some form of ballistic metal, the idea of winning a war thousands of feet above your opponent was revolutionary. In the beginning, aircraft were only used for reconnaissance, in the form of balloons or some planes. But it wasn't until World War I that people actually figured out how to efficiently strap a gun to a plane, and the idea of the dogfight was born. Early in World War I, the greatest in military aviation advancement was the Fokker-Eindecker I. Created by German enlisted Dutch aviation engineer Anthony Fokker, the Fokker-Eindecker I was the first plane to be outfitted with a synchronization gear, which allowed bullets to be shot through the propeller, which got rid of the problem of pilots accidentally shooting off their propellers. Because of this advancement, it allowed planes not only to have powerful machine guns on them, but to have the front pulling motors that made planes so much more powerful. And because of these advancements, it gave Germany a great amount of air power and a great advantage over many countries throughout World War I. In terms of revolution, aircraft most changed war during World War I. Before this point, war had been very personal, with people actually having to look somebody in the eye and then kill them. But since bombing had been created, the inconvenience of seeing who you're about to kill was removed for pilots everywhere. At this point, war was made not only much more impersonal, but more efficient, throughout all ideas of aircraft, but especially throughout the idea of bombing. As of now, it is unsure as to who exactly or at what time the first bombs were thrown out of a plane, but it is known that the Germans, Russians, Austro-Hungarians, and French had all been considering and developing bomber aircraft since before the time even fighter aircraft were used in war. Because at this time bombing was not only extremely powerful, but also relatively common, the effects of it were felt by many countries, and not only militarily, but also economically. The use of bombing at this time greatly changed the way wars were fought. It allowed people to not only attack each other's armies, but attack each other directly in their economic centers, and to cause huge amounts of material damage to the heart of where other armies lived, came from, and got all their supplies from. This extremely built upon the idea of all sorts of collateral damage. At this time, planes were not only used for bombing. There was a very large amount of reconnaissance work which went into not only using planes, but as well as zeppelins to find out what the enemy was doing and why they were doing it. Here you can see a plane in which a man has a camera and is using it to record photos and films of the ground itself. Reaction. During this time, most of the reaction that was actually seen was part of the military. It became quickly apparent to other countries that Germany was very superior in terms of its air force, because it was the only one as of this point that had had a synchronization gear in any of its planes. This synchronization gear had allowed Germany to dominate the skies for many years, up until late 1915. And actually, this period in 1915 was nicknamed the Fokker Scourge, because of how much more powerful and how much more advanced all the Fokker planes were compared to anyone Germany would call an enemy. Though the reaction was based mainly in the military, not all of it was used just to create better planes. Much of their efforts were just used to enlist as many people as they possibly could into the Air Force, because at this point they had realized how powerful an Air Force could be, and how much use it would serve to the government. In order to recruit more people to the U.S. Air Force, they had used common symbols not only such as the American Eagle, but as the very popular wartime song of the era, Over There. We'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there. In terms of reform, World War I presented one of the greatest changes people have ever seen to the way they view any kind of war. It greatly altered people's perspective on war, not only for people who are actually in any kind of battle, but for people just waiting at home. It made warfare shown something that could happen, yes, with the passing of a stampede of armed men, but also something that could just occur with the passing of a plane. This completely changed the way people saw war, and it has remained changed forever since.